Welcome back to the GeoBrats Global Cities Tournament 2020. We have made it to the final 32, the fourth round. And as a treat, we are changing the format ever so slightly. Instead of a best of 5, we now have a best of 6 for every matchup. But GeoBrats, what happens when they tie at 3? That's a great question. We'll figure it out on the fly. Our first matchup tonight features the number 1 overall seed, New York City, United States. They're taking on number 35 overall, Osaka, Japan. And as always, we are joined by the master of the draw. And you better believe he is not a robot. In fact, just to prove he's not a robot, we are going to have him make a second appearance. Congratulations, you got what you've been waiting for. Alrighty then. First category, please.
Population.
The population of New York City is 8.8 million. That is quite a few more than Osaka, 2.7 million. That is a 1-0 lead for the 1 seed. Second category, please.
Cost of living.
$8,100 worth of goods in New York City would only have cost $4,646 in Osaka. We're tied at 1. Category the third.
International visitors.
You gotta believe this is going to the Big Apple. And it is. 13.6 million international visitors per year to New York City. Very, very respectable. 7.9 million to Osaka. Pretty high. Surprised me to see that. But New York City, nevertheless, in the lead, 2-1. Category number 4.
Gross domestic product.
As fate might have it, New York City, the largest GDP of any city in the world, $1.732 billion per year. 781 million in Osaka. They're putting on quite a show, and it's just not making a difference. They're still down 3-1. Can New York finish it in 5?
Busiest airport.
This is not total air traffic into a city. It is the busiest singular airport. As such, it is the John F. Kennedy International. Representing New York City, 62.6 million. Taking on Kansai International. KICS is the abbreviation. KICS! Anyway, 28.7 million passengers per year, which means New York City wins at 4-1, which means they're the first city into the 5th round. The next matchup here in the 4th round is the number 17 seed Seoul, South Korea, against the number 16 seed Madrid, Spain. Yes, that is correct. 16 versus 17. You don't get closer than that. First category, please.
Best flag.
Yeah, we have the Madrid flag, which was obviously done on Microsoft Paint in the late 1980s. There is a bear reaching for apples on a tree. I don't think they have bears naturally living in Madrid, and I don't think bears eat apples from trees. The Seoul flag is quite a bit more stylish, and we're going with Seoul. They're up 1-0. Next category, please.
Average high temperature.
The average high monthly temperature of Seoul is 16.42 Celsius. In Madrid, it is a flat 20. It's much nicer. That's closer to 23, which is the target, which means 1-1, which means third category.
Public transportation usage.
Madrid, 25.56% of people are using public transportation to get to work and school. Pretty good. But they're coming up against the juggernaut, Seoul, more than half, 52.68%. That is fantastic. That is impressive. That's a 2-1 lead. We're going to the fourth.
Surface area.
This is as close as their seating. Yes, that's right. They're 1 square kilometer apart. 604 to 605. Seoul's up 3-1. Eking it out. Cannot get any closer than that, but maybe they can finish it in 5.
Purchasing power.
This is yet another absurdly close category. One city's purchasing power is 11.9% higher. And in spite of all these very close categories, Seoul is going to win 4-1. Well, definitely felt a lot closer than that, but does not matter to them because they're going to the 5th round. Continuing here in the first quadrant, number 82 overall, Hangzhou, China, taking on number 34 overall, Istanbul, Turkey. Begin!
Best flag.
This is going to be a very strange beginning. Neither one of these cities has a city flag. Now these are both city seals. Hangzhou has the one on the top. Not very pretty, but it gets the job done. That's what really counts. Except in this category. Because the one on the bottom is Istanbul. Nice stylized minarets poking up from these curved lines. Better font usage. They're going to take this one. Istanbul up 1-0. Second category.
Average high temperature.
The average high temperature of Istanbul, 17.75 Celsius. The average high monthly temperature in Hangzhou, 20.5. Again, closer to 23. We're tied at 1. Next category, please.
Surface area.
Alright, the surface area of Istanbul is 2,577 square kilometers. That is a very large, very grandiose city that is now down 2-1 in this matchup. Surface area of Hangzhou, 8,108 square kilometers. And that's why they're in the lead. Fourth category now.
Annual rainfall.
Istanbul, quite dry by global city standards. 640 millimeters versus 1,448. Hangzhou up 3-1. They're on the verge of advancing. Do they do it here?
Best skyline.
They absolutely do not do it here. Hangzhou, especially for a Chinese city, devoid of a massive skyline. Nothing really standing out about it. Again, for Istanbul, they have a skyline. It's pretty tall away from the city center, but in the city center, you got the Galata Tower, the Golden Horn, the Sultan Ahmet Plaza. You have it all with some fantastic views. Istanbul pulling it back to 3-2. Is this going to end in 6?
Busiest airport.
The Hangzhou Xi'an Airport, with 38.2 million passengers per year. Now we got to pick just one airport, Istanbul, not an amalgamation of all of them. Istanbul IST, 52 million, which means we're tied 3-3 in a best of 6. How do we resolve this issue? Panel discussion, let's go! Hello, welcome to the first ever panel discussion here on GeoBrax. I am, of course, GeoBrax, joined today with fellow panel member Botlow, and the matchup that has the privilege of being the first ever to go to panel discussion is Hangzhou and Istanbul here in the first quadrant, 4th round. Now, of course, of course. Hangzhou is one of the 7 ancient capitals of China. We all knew that. Marco Polo himself described it as the most beautiful city on earth. It is, in the modern era, home to the wonderful West Lake UNESCO Heritage Site with the beautiful Leifang Pagoda. Facing off against Hangzhou will be Istanbul, founded in 657 BCE as Byzantium, of course. We all know where the Byzantine Empire got their name from. The Romans actually made it their capital city in the year 330 CE. It was thereby named Constantinople after the Emperor Constantine, who made it the capital, and then served as the capital of the Ottoman Empire from 1453 until the Turkish Republic was founded in 1922. That's correct. Quick overview of the geography. Of course, it's split across 2 continents. You have the Fatih district, where the Hagia Sophia is located. Across the Golden Horn, you're in Beyoğlu, Karakoy, Galata, and then of course across the Bosporus you have Asia. So, turning to you, Botlo, we have a discussion to panel.
Yes, we do.
And we're going to allow you to give the first decision of which one of these 2 cities is getting your vote to advance into the 5th round.
Well, I'm honored and privileged, and so my vote right off the bat is going to be for Istanbul. It is, bridging 2 continents, Europe and Asia, which is a unique distinction that many cities don't have in the world. I think that wins it for me, mainly. You've got the European side, you've got the Asian side, you've got landmarks such as Taksim Square, the Blue Mosque, as mentioned, Hagia Sophia. Its maritime importance on the Bosporus, controlling passage to the Black Sea and other places into the Mediterranean. It's just, it's a beautiful city. It's an amalgamation of cultures, and nothing against Hangzhou, but it's a city in China with a lot of importance. But when you have sort of importance to 2 continents and such a strategic maritime location, it's got a winner. Can't be beaten, in my opinion. Back to you.
Thank you for that well-reasoned argument, Botlo. I'm going to take this time to speak to the strong points of Hangzhou. It is the southern terminus of the Grand Canal that was actually linking it to Beijing as early as the Sui Dynasty, 610 CE. It was the capital of the Wu Yue Kingdom, and the city, then known as Shifu, was basically turned into the center of Buddhism in southern China. The most famous site is, again, the Westlake UNESCO Heritage Site. The first emperor of unified China, Qin Shi Huang, is said to have actually visited Westlake, and of course we have the first ever causeway constructed across it by the poet Su Shi in 1089 CE. And another famous fact is that the world's largest tidal bore is actually present during the Mid-Autumn Festival as the Chantang River comes down from the wide mouth at Shanghai and Ningbo and then gets into a small stretch as it approaches Hangzhou. This tidal bore is actually known as the Silver Dragon. It's a massive tourist draw. And with the reformist policies that began under Deng Xiaoping in 1978, economic prosperity has finally returned to the ancient capital. So much so that it is actually the world headquarters of internet giant Alibaba, and they're also going to host the 2022 Asian Games. That being said, Istanbul to me stands out as one of the preeminent cities in the world. Something that really spoke to me is that there is an unmanned subway line that is subterranean called the Marmarai. It goes underneath the ocean from Europe to Asia, and again, nobody's driving it. Absolutely unbelievable. The public transportation is amazing. You have the Istanbul card that gets you on the ferries, on the buses, on the world's 2nd oldest funicular, somewhere in Beyoğlu to Galata, and of course, Istiklal Street, the pedestrian street going from Taksim all the way to the Galata Tower, the last remnant of the Venetian walls. It's just absolutely beautiful, and therefore I'm also going to go with Istanbul And that will end this panel discussion. You have to say anything to the fans of Istanbul?
Hey, big shout out. I know Geobrax here. We've been wearing the soccer jerseys. Love their soccer teams. Fenerbahce fan here, but you also got Galatasaray, Besiktas. Great city. Can't say anything more.
Another fourth round matchup coming in here. Some will say that these are actually two Chinese cities facing off. That would include the government of the People's Republic of China. But we're just going to gloss over that. Number 86 overall, Nanjing, China, taking on the number 6 overall seed, Hong Kong. First category, please.
Surface area.
This is a close one. The surface area of Hong Kong. You think it's just a tiny little port city with some islands. No. 1,110 square kilometers. But in Nanjing, 1,399. It's a 1-0 lead to the undeniably Chinese city. Second category, please.
Highest elevation.
Highest elevation of Nanjing, a mere 20 meters. And we all know from the beautiful images that we have in our head of Hong Kong from Victoria Peak that they got some elevation going on down there. 957 meters, we are tied at 1. Third category.
Busiest airport.
Hong Kong International HKG, 74.5 million passengers per year. The Nanjing Lukou Airport, 28.6 million. Hong Kong with a 2-1 lead. Taking it to the fourth category.
Best skyline.
The Nanjing skyline is actually pretty nice. A lot of tall buildings. Definitely some scrapers of the sky in that alignment. However, just take a look at Hong Kong. Just do it. Just image search Hong Kong skyline. I don't know how you beat that. Hong Kong has about 20 times the skyline of almost every other city in this tournament. And then you mix that in with the fact that you're looking down from Victoria's Peak. Can't be beaten. Category to Hong Kong. Hong Kong up 3-1. And they finish it here.
Best flag.
We have an old city flag as it's no longer in use for Nanjing. And we have the current seal for the city of Hong Kong. We have a proud lion puffing its chest out as it's above the city wall. However, the red, yellow, and green clash a bit. The Hong Kong more on brand. The 5-petaled flower. Nice red and white circles. I find it more aesthetically pleasing. You know what that means? 4-1 victory, Hong Kong to the 5th round. Did somebody say second quadrant action here for round 4? That's right. I said it. Just now. We're beginning it with number 5 overall seed Beijing, China against number 46 Dublin, Ireland. How are we going to start this one out? Mr. Master of the Draw.
International visitors.
As you might imagine, the largest cities in the world is certainly going to lose this category. 4 million international visitors to Beijing per year. Whereas Dublin, Ireland has more visitors than it has people by a large percentage. 5.2 million per year. Dublin up 1-0. Can they make it 2?
Gross domestic product.
The Master of the Draw says we're not going to let this matchup get out of hand. 553.9 billion is the GDP for Beijing. 118.7 billion for Dublin. Tied at 1. Category number 3.
Public transportation usage.
Dublin, Ireland sees 29.34% of its citizens using public transportation to get to work and to school. It's bus, tram, and train, but Beijing also has bus, tram, and train, and their percentage is right at 1/3, 33.333, repeating, and they're up 2-1, going to category number 4.
Largest stadium.
The Beijing National Stadium, the Bird's Nest, 80,000. You all saw it in the 2008 Summer Olympics. You all loved it. You all did. Don't lie to yourselves. But the home of Gaelic football, the home of hurling, Croke Park, 82,300. We're tied at 2. Who's going to take a 3-2 lead?
Purchasing power.
The upset in the making is brewing. Dubliners, 47.73% higher purchasing power than those who live in Beijing. They're on the verge of a major upset. 6th category, please.
Crime index.
Crime index of Dublin is 50.84. Crime index of Beijing, 34.3. Seems like we're tied at 3. Panel discussion! Hey, Mr. Botlow, it appears that we are back for yet another panel discussion here. This time it is a second quadrant matchup, still in, of course, the 4th round. This one's going to feature the number 5 overall seed Beijing. Surprising that they were down in this matchup, actually, but they pulled it back. They're tied at 3. That's why you and I are here. I'm going to speak about the background of Beijing, of course. Another one of China's 7 ancient capitals. In fact, one of the 4 great ancient capitals, founded in the year 1054 BCE as Ji. Now, it didn't really have any prominence until the Jin dynasty that was actually north of mainland China. The Jurchen people actually named it Chengdu, but the Mongolian Yuan dynasty, they took it over in 1215. Of course, they, as you had to do, burned it to the ground by 1217. Eventually, in the year 1368, the Han Chinese reconquered it under everyone's favorite rebel leader, Zhu Yuanzhang. From there, Beijing became the capital of the Ming dynasty in 1403, and that's why the Forbidden City was constructed between 1406 and 1420. And now enters the challenger Dublin, founded originally as a Gael settlement in the 600s CE, but a more permanent Viking settlement was established here in the year 841, and it was named Dublin, which obviously a precursor to the name Dublin. King Henry II of England actually landed on Irish soil in October of the year 1171, 2 years after the Norman invasion of Ireland. They ended the Norse kingdom of Dublin, and from that point, King Henry II proclaimed Dublin to be crown land. That's why Dublin Castle was built under King John of England between 1204 and 1230. Now, with the Acts of Union in the year 1800, Dublin became the 2nd largest city in the United Kingdom after London, and when the Irish Free State was established in 1922, Dublin was the capital, and now it's the capital of the independent Republic of Ireland. So we're going to have Botlow now discuss why it is that you have chosen one of these cities over the other. Explain yourself to the people, please.
For sure. Thanks, GeoBrax. Right off the bat again, my vote, I'll let y'all know, is for Beijing. The reason being is because, its strategic place and location and history in China and the world. Dublin, I believe, is a great city. It has touristic and historical importance to Europe, the European continent. But again, Dublin to me is a largely touristic city. It has its points. Dublin, to me, can't hold up again in its matchup against Beijing. Basically, for me, Beijing, with its Forbidden City, its history, its strategic importance in the modern world as China's capital, and China's growing involvement in world politics and just becoming a world superpower. To me, Beijing's got this one.
Well said, Mr. Botlow. And of course, I have to give the counterpoint. I have to show some love for Dublin. In modern era, unfortunately, a lot of the Georgian architecture was taken down. Office buildings came up. There was a recession in the 1970s and 1980s that slowed down the construction pace. However, we all know the Asian tigers in Southeast Asia. There was a Celtic tiger period of economic recovery that began in 1997 due to foreign investment, and at that point, Dublin was actually rivaling those East Asian cities with its rapid economic growth to about the year 2008. But Dublin has managed to achieve status as an alpha city. Famous landmarks include Trinity College, established in 1592. The largest employer in Dublin is actually the Guinness Brewery. It's founded in 1759.
Sounds like they now have a great time.
Indeed, you would. And of course, if you wanted to look out over the River Liffey, you could go to the Temple Bar District, and you could also go shopping on the famous Grafton Street. And of course, now it is designated exclusively for pedestrian use since the year 1982. Dublin actually has the largest enclosed park in Europe. That is Phoenix Park, and they're also home to Gaelic football and a sport I actually like, hurling, at Croke Park. That being said, however, I am inclined to agree with Botlow as to the outcome of this matchup. The People's Liberation Army won the city in 1949, and this led to the proclamation of the current and modern People's Republic of China, proclaimed from Tiananmen City Wall and from Tiananmen Square. That's actually where the yearly Beijing Marathon takes place and ends. We know the downside of modern Beijing, it's smoggy, okay. But it hosted the 2008 Summer Olympics. It's going to be the first city ever to host the Summer and a Winter Olympics as of 2022. It has the most Fortune Global 500 headquarters of any city in the world. It also includes the world's 4 largest financial institutions by total assets. I had been thinking of picking the upset here, but just given this financial might, we're going to have to say that in this battle of sister cities, Beijing's going to take it, and they're going to the 5th round. Continuing here in the second quadrant of the 4th round, we have number 46 overall, Philadelphia, United States. They're taking on number 87 overall, Chengdu, China. Let's begin.
Annual rainfall.
Annual rainfall category is within 100 millimeters, 1,054 millimeters per year in Philadelphia, 986 in Chengdu. Philly, 1-0 lead. Keep it rolling.
Busiest airport.
PHL, Philadelphia International, sees 33 million per year. Chengdu, Shuangliu will see 53 million. That one, a much larger margin of victory. We're now tied 1 category apiece. What happens now?
Gross domestic product.
GDP of Chengdu, $273.8 billion per year, $388 billion per year in Philadelphia. The American city's up 2-1. Can make it 3-1.
Cost of living.
If I spent $2,316 on goods in Chengdu, that would have cost me $5,200 in Philadelphia. So now we're tied at 2 apiece. 5th category, please.
Surface area.
Surface area of Chengdu is 886 square kilometers. Pretty big, but we've seen bigger. Just not in Philadelphia. 348 square km. Chengdu up 3-2. Does it end here?
Highest elevation.
Sorry to say, Philadelphia, your highest elevation is 12 meters. You can see here that there are a lot of mountains around Chengdu. 5,364 meters. They came back from the 2-1. They take it 4-2, Chengdu to the 5th round. I reckon it's time for some more 4th round action here. In the second quadrant, we have number 100, Xi'an, China. They are taking on the sided team from Victoria. It is Melbourne, Australia. First category plays Mr. Master of the Draw.
International visitors.
This one is very decisive. 1.2 million international visitors per year to Xi'an. 2.9 million per year to Melbourne. The Australian city's up 1-0. Second category, please.
Best skyline.
Taking a look at the skylines, Xi'an. Most famous photo is a temple in the foreground. Some wide boulevards running parallel to each other, and then condominiums. The skyline of Melbourne, famous for the Eureka Sky Tower. It's not even the largest one in the city anymore. It's been bypassed by Australia 101. Of course, you have the beautiful views from the Melbourne Cricket Ground to Rod Laver Arena. You look at it all from Federation Square and up and down the Yarra River. Giving it to Melbourne, they're up 2-0. Third category, please.
Largest urban park.
Population of Melbourne, 5.2 million. Xi'an, 7.1 million. They extended at least to the 5th.
Gross domestic product.
GDP of Xi'an, 154.2 billion per year. $279.3 billion per year for Melbourne. They win it 4-1. They're going to the 5th round. And what may be the most highly anticipated of all the matchups in the 4th round, we have number 37 overall, Rome, Italy, taking on number 3 overall seed, Paris, France. We have this blockbuster to end episode number 10. Mr. Master of the Draw, how do we begin?
Public transportation usage.
23.42% of Romans will be taking public transportation to work and to school. 46.92% of Parisians are going to be doing that. They're up 1-0 in Paris. Second category, please.
Busiest airport.
Charles de Gaulle. CDG. 76.1 million. Fiumicino. FCO. 43.5 million. That's a 2-0 lead to Paris. Category number 3.
Traffic index.
It's 173.87 out there in Roma. 152.02. This is turning into a runaway. Is Paris gonna sweep?
Gross domestic product.
Highly anticipated. But Paris doesn't care about your narrative. That's a sweep. $866 billion per year versus $166.8 billion. Paris is gonna move on to the 5th round to face Melbourne. Thank you guys for tuning in. That was episode number 10. Down to 24 cities. Can you believe it? We started with 147. And yet, some of you still are not following us on the Discord. What in the heck are you doing? Come on, quit messing around. I also have one more thing to ask of you. As always, you see that right there? You know you want to. Just subscribe. You don't want to miss episode 11, or 12, or 13, or 14.